Alright, 109, repairing magnesium turnout crossing frogs. Scope of the following instruction apply with the welding magnesium turnout in the rail, the insert spring rail with the diamond and the crossing frog diamond. The magnesium steel exhibit the following characteristics. Unlike most steel with often temperatures relative to the low temperature, magnesium steel becomes brittle and magnetic when a heat of up to 500 degrees will fracture easily. The outer proportion magnesium casting work hardened to the depth of approximately 1/8 inch. Any area with the remaining ductile magnesium steel can be work hardened to remove the twice of the original hardness, approximately 535 Brenner hardness newtons until the fully worked hardened magnesium steel remains ductile to forms original shape with stress. Good non-work hardened magnesium steel is non-magnetic. Work hardened magnesium steel will have a slightly magnetic attraction. Magnetic properties can be checked with a magnet flange way as a problem with the personal protective equipment. Making welding repairs. Purpose of the repair: work hardening, marker, remove the defective material, power source setup, the ground clamp replacement, remove work hardened material, horizontal cracks, vertical cracks, repairing magnesium steel frogs, approved stick, wire electrodes, magnesium buildup, proceed the weld, build length of the weld. Skipping alternative methods, maintaining temperature, welding areas, removing slag, relieving stress, training, equipment interruption, finishing, grinding, slotting, using frog gauges, follow-up grinding, repairing carbon steel binder rails, mark and remove the defective material, metal, preheat carbon rail, steel binder rail, welding carbon steel binder rail, finishing, grind carbon rail, steel binder rail, post-heating carbon rail, steel binder rail, magnesium insert spring rail frogs, RBM heel leg extension rail, carbon rail steel, frog heel leg identification instruction for the repair. Alright, your personal protective equipment: abrasive, the hard hat without hearing protection, eye protection, wear held and clear lens with the grind movement, and safety glass, wraparound face shield with the goggles, and safety work glove with welding jacket, welding sleeve with leather legs, approved safety toe boots, flame resistant clothing, see respiratory policy, respirator, equipment, oxy-fuel, gas, heating, hard hat, heating protection, dual eye protection, wraparound face shield, goggles, and safety glasses. Only one shall have 5 grade mono XRTR number 5. Safety glasses can be used with alternative leather welding gloves, welding jacket, welding sleeve, leather leggings, approved safety toe boots, flame resistant clothing, see respiratory policy respirator requirement. Electrical arc welding, hood properly shaded with a hard hat, using less than proof with a hard hat, PAPR, welding hood, hearing, word action, safety goggles, leather, welding gloves, welding jacket, welding sleeve, proof safety toe boots, flame resistant clothing, see respiratory policy, respirator requirement, use with the required fan, marking weld repairs. After welding repairs are made with the magnesium insert plate with the mark over the base of the rail immediately next to the installation date with an indicator number of the welding rails. Use a white metal marker. Purpose of the repairing magnesium frog is to repair broken and chipped area of the restore warrants over the acceptable FRA standards. Show the straight edge over the transverse rab with the frog wear measurement. The flange weight depth must not be less than 1/3 inch for class 1 track, 1.5 inches class 2 to 5 track. If the frog is chipped, broken more than 5/8 of an inch or broke down and 6 inches back, operating speed will not be more than 10 miles an hour. F 6 inches is point with the conserve of the tread point frog. If the tread portion of the frog is worn down more than 3/8 of an inch below the original contour, the original speed will not be more than 10 miles an hour. With the fragments design flange weight, the dip of the flange weight depth may not be less than shown in class 1. Operate with class 1 speed. Flange bearing casting one way low speed crossing diamond jump frog can be repaired. Welding repair flanging bearing portion where depth does not exceed 1 inch. At no time can a flange bearing be raised more than original height. Work hardening. While magnesium steel track work undergoes work hardening, do not weld minor low spots. Avoid all welding repairs and left the track component deeply cracked that has broken and missing parts. Confine all other repairs and grinding only all steel. As steel loosens, ductility becomes hard. In critical area of the flange way will show metal flow. Do the following check the clearance of the U of the frog gauge is appropriate to correct any deviation. File with grind official excess metal to restore the proper dimension contour while grinding. Make sure that the heat builds up the metal. Note, grinding properly will allow the grinding wheel to cut with excessive pressure while producing heat build up, then source the moisture present in the heat magnesium casting before welding repair begins. Dry casting, note the temperature must not exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Mark, remove the defective material. Mark worn area defective to remove the use of the straight soapstone. Use the carbon arc cutting to remove work hardened defective metal. Power source setup. There's CAC. Power source equipment must be with the direct current electrode powered with a constant current with a carbon arc cutting torch with a minimum of 100 amp rating. Angle travel speed to determine the depth of the cup. The carbon arc cutting electrode stick out should not be more than 6 inches. Stick out that exceeds 6 inches. Air pressure and then sufficient to remove the molten metal. Ensure airstream directed toward the end of the under the electrode. Just carbon arc gouger, ground clamp replacement with a carbon arc cutting, electro arc welding grind, area clean with a ground clamp, make contact with the metal, apply with the ground clamp to the carbon steel binder rail near the heel of the frog. Should they attain for the ground clamp tamper the heel of the end of the binder rail. Move work hardened material, either the carbon arc cutting, remove the work hardened material, remove 1/4 inch of the metal below the work hard zone. Now allow the temperature of magnesium casting to exceed 500 degrees, which will result in embrittlement and thermal cracking. Carbon arc cutting, grinding area to clean level surface. Horizontal cracks. Carbon arc cutting, remove the horizontal cracks, remove the horizontal cracks, tamper with the ends of the accommodate grinding wheel to properly remove the defect metal, with remove the metal each end with the crack with the work backward toward the damaged metal crack, cutting the both ends of horizontal crack to may allow the removal of a single piece of the metal, see figure 109D. Side view of the frog point, carbon arc cutting towards the end of the crack, horizontal crack, lower surface condition. After removing the metal piece of the carbon arc cutting, grinding to remove at least 1/4 inch of the work hardened surface of the metal with the grinding area with a clean and level surface. Vertical cracks, view of the carbon arc cutting, remove material with the vertical cracks, identify vertical crack, move the entire vertical crack possible without burning for the frog casting. The cracks of the frog flangeway include longitudinal crack at the bottom of the flangeway to not exceed 1/2 inch depth of the metal removal. One frog wing rails and frog point, remove the metal shape with a U-groove type pattern. Grind the repair area with a clean surface of the approved stainless stick electrode designed to seal the vertical cracks that cannot be fully removed. Use no more than 3 passes over the crack. Complete with the build-up of the approved magnesium welding product denied without the temperature magnesium casting exceed 500 degrees, which will result in embrittlement and thermal cracking. Preparing magnesium steel frogs. Approved stick welder electrode stainless steel 109 10B magnesium steel. Note, magnesium stick electrodes are drag type electrodes. Maintain contact with while welding. Magnesium buildup procedure. Preparing magnesium casting welding using the following instruction. Maintain in 10 to 30 degrees trailing electrode angle vertical axis while welding. Dragging multiple steel put. Do not push it. Do not start the stop bead same place while create stress lines. Overlap bead starts and stops. Use proper amper and travel speed to prevent overheating. Weld bead in length and width to maintain proper weld bead characters. Low heat input. The bead length must not exceed 9 inches for the stick electrode. Bead length must not exceed 12 inches in wire electrodes. Bead width must not exceed 5/8 of an inch. Bead width must not exceed 5/8 of an inch maximum. Skipping an alternative method. The skip method to prevent help frogs the overheating when repairing with one portion of the frog. Weld bead to proper length with a skip 6 inches, then weld another bead proper length with alternate method to repair more than one part of the frog. Alternate from point to the wings. Avoid overheating to the evenly support the weight of the train buildup of the frog point wing rails together to maintain even height. Maintain temperature of the magnesium steel. Change of the metallurgic pressure property for the temperature above 500 degrees. Become brittle and can fracture easily. Welding a magnesium steel. Keep the temperature on the base metal below 500 degrees. Periodically check with half inch of the deposit metal using either appropriate temp stick or the pyrometer. Note if you use the non-contact pyrometer, always check the distance not exceeding 8 inches of the temperature. Magnesium cast approaches 500 degrees. Stop all welding. Cool steel with the airflow. Air is the only approved method of the cooling magnesium steel. Welding areas. Weld lowest area of the first create level plane and establish frog points. Frog points are for the beginning of the repair build up lowest area. First to establish welding surface. Weld the area. Side point view. 10967 remove the slag, relieving strap after applying each weld the bead. Remove slag peen to remove strap. Remove slag beginning with the weld bead. End of the weld bead. Begin with the wet bead. Bead cooler than slow slag more easily removed. Peen of the end of the weld bead toward the beginning of the 2 to 3 times per inch of the weld. Peen with a round bar with a 2-pound ball of peen hammer for weld bead cools. This step place for the weld bead compression relieves stress content created in the welding. Order stock number 410-2286 with approved hammer and other means of stress direction. Welding travel to alternate direction. Travel stress reduced to help maintain frog strength. Train and equipment interruption. Welding is interpreted with the trains of the other equipment movement of the grind clean with the wheels made contact with the frog to remove the contaminants. Finish grinding industrial standard radius magnesium frog casting the 5/8 of an inch. Repair magnesium frog grind frog point wings to specified contours grade side point. Wings must be grounded to original uniform radius indicated. Show the 5/8 of an inch radius changes frog radius. Grind over the original contour without grinding on the onto parent steel with the grinding off of the welded area. The point of the steel creates secondary batter. Tip of the frog point shall be 3/6 of an inch below the wing of the slope upward until the point is even with the wings of the binder rail. Show the 3/16 length of the slope top of the frog, and frog slope numbers 10 or smaller, 8 inches, 14, 11 inches, 16, 12 inches, 20, 15 inches. Slotting. Use a hand grinder slot stone no more than wider than 1/8 of an inch. Grind all areas between the magazine and insert carbon binder rails depth of 3/60 minutes slightly below to remove the sharp edges. Use frog gauges. The flange weight gauge of the measure flange weight with the radius of the narrow stick with the check side of the gauge to determine the flange weight of the too narrow with the wheel flange gauge past the minimum clearance of the all flange weight operation. Portion of the gauge cannot be inserted with the flange weight as shown below with the weight. The flange weight must be ground with the original contour. This finished side gauge correct opening must accept the gauge. The radius for the top must also be correspond with the gauge shown in the illustration on the right. Minimum flange weight width and finished flange weight width. Do not overgrind surface of the flange way. Overgrinding reduces running surface of the effect with the guardrail measurement. Following up grinding, it's critical to regrind metal flow with the restore radius of the ground frogs. Depending on the trap patterns, the follow-up of the grinding must be completed within 7 and 10 days after the new frog installation repair by welding. Provide cracking and chipped air that is not complete with the timely manner. Metal will flow to the point of failure, requiring premature welded repairs. Repair of carbon steel rail binders. Do not weld carbon steel binders on mainline frogs class 3 above tracks. Carbon rail steel binder rails, and then show the mark of the removal of the defective metal. Determine the area of the move. Be welded with a 24-inch straight edge mark with a soapstone. Remove the defective metal by grinding only. Do not use carbon arc cutting, oxy fuel cutting. Preheating carbon rail steel binder rail. Before welding, preheating carbon steel binder rail portion magnesium frog 700 degrees. Maintain the inner pass temperature through the entire welding procedure. During allowing carbon rail steel to cool to the temperature below 700 degrees Fahrenheit during the welding process, the inner pass temperature minimum temperature allowable while welding on the carbon rail steel. The temperature will equal the preheat temperature. If the welding repair interrupted with the carbon rail steel binder cools below the minimum inner pass temperature, reheat the minimum of 700 degrees before resuming welding repairs. 10973 welding carbon rail steel binder rail. Do not begin the end of the weld B with a bolt on over a bolt hole. Begin with the ending of the weld wheels over the bolt hole and groove with the chains of the rail breaking due to the stress of cover and welding and end will transition over the binder rail to magnesium wing rail. Proof stick and wired electrode welding rail steel must be with a welded bead within 3/4 inch to 1 inch. Move slag each welded bead before relieving the stress by painting. Do not use the needle scaler for the purpose of the strike weld beads 2 to 3 times per inch. Welding in the 2-pound ball peen hammer to release stress. Alright, finish grind carbon rail steel binder rails. Welding is complete. Grind binder rail steel existing contour. Post-heating carbon rail steel binder rails. Post-heating carbon steel rail is prohibited to increase the risking of overheating and joining magnesium steel casing, causing it to brittle and create thermal cracks. Magnesium insert spring rail frogs. Only magnesium cast portion frog and rail ends. Follow magnesium steel welding procedures stated beginning in the 109. It is recommended hydraulic jacking tool be used to open the weld wing rail when welding and grinding is to be done. Use the wood block, the wood wedge recommended with the hold the wing and rail open. The frog point will not be left at the height and will allow the outside edge of the wheel to make contact with the gauge of the face of the spring rail. Straight edge radius gauge must be verified with the correct grinding. Do not overgrind the flange way area. Final grinding should always proper fit with the wing rail. Ring rail must be closed before training and also allowed to pass grind slope on the point. Refer to peg table 109. Frog type insert rail section point depth and length of slope. Alright, RBM 8 heel leg extension rail with a carbon rail steel. With a certain RBM, frogs have the heel leg extension design with the allow wheel repairs. Welding repairs specific frog design must be identified with the determined electrical arc welding allowance and prohibition. Heel leg extensions are made with the carbon rail steel. Make repairs according to the Tractor 105 rail and repair. Or your RBM frog heel leg identification. The standard RBM frog of the wide heel leg extension rail bolts of the heel portion of the magnesium insert can be repaired. Electrical arc welding requirements are made with a conformal frog of the magnesium insert spring rail for a tamp with the heel leg of the extension rails. Machine narrow end but not allowed with the repair with any welding. Proceed with the purpose of the repair would generally do the correct with a mismatched chipping. See figure RBM wide heel leg extension show the acceptable repair. Confirm RBM magnesium insert spring rail with a nail heel extension are not allowed to be repaired in welding processes. 10992 instruction for repair. Once determined the welding repairs can be made, the heel leg extension must be also ultrasonically tested before the weld process begins to verify the no defects, including the bolt hole cracks, mark the area to repair with the top of the rail and using straight edge and soapstone area of the repair additional 3 inches of the preheat. If the repair, shift the rail end with the grind area with the repair with the removal of the defective material build up the rail end. Do the mismatch, remove all the material shell, showing an indication of the thought, fatiguing, shelling, spalling, etc. below the damaged metal. With the oxy-fuel torch, carbon, arc cutting, remove surface of the defective material prohibited. To the deny penetration, show all the cracks have been removed. The grinding, have all necessary tools readily available. The welding machine running and properly set. Use the oxy-fuel torch preheat with air with a repair plus with additional 3-inch minimum 700 degrees. Additional 3 inches required to slow the cooling rate. Direct the flame toward the outside under railhead away from the magnesium insert casting. Overheat with the magnesium casting, either the embrittlement causing the casting to crack or chip. And show the direct flame here, transverse rib. Upon removal of the preheating, immediately begin welding to prevent cooling of the metal. If welding is interrupted, welding area has to be cooled below 700 degrees. Welding must not resume until the welding area, the additional 3 inches, has been reheated to the last 700 degrees. Straight edge is required to determine the white weld height. Upon completion of the welding, begin the process. Surface the type grinder differential for the running surface that should be either will provide the best result. Either the angle hand grinder brief the grinding disc will provide satisfactory running surface with the grinding not available. Only grinding area with the repair, not only the parent steel, would result in a secondary batter and improve the impact force to achieve the proper radius for the grinding and ensure the radius of the achieve the gauge corner of the railhead. Proceeding prohibited to require with the high temperature will damage the magnesium insert casting. Even the trade, check the transfer air between the carbon rail magnesium insert blend if necessary to ensure a smooth transition. Chapter 110 Thermite Weld Rail Tech Boet.